Question 1. Teachers in a quiet study group wonder why learners start feeling nervous after a certain chime is repeatedly paired with a pop quiz. Which principle applies? Option A. Operant conditioning. Option B. Classical conditioning. Option C. Metacognition. Option D. Constructivism. The correct answer is option B. Classical conditioning. This describes classical conditioning because a neutral stimulus becomes linked with an emotional response after repeated pairings. Operant conditioning is not the best choice because it focuses on consequences after behavior rather than associations before a response. Metacognition is different because it concerns thinking about one's own thinking, not learned emotional associations. Constructivism does not fit because it explains active meaning making, not a reflexive conditioned response. Question 2. Can Ivy treat a teacher adds praise after a learner participates and participation increases as evidence of which concept? Option A. Extinction. Option B. Punishment. Option C. Negative reinforcement. Option D. Positive reinforcement. The correct answer is option D. Positive reinforcement. This describes positive reinforcement because a desirable consequence is added after a behavior, making that behavior more likely. Extinction is not the best choice because it weakens behavior by withholding reinforcement. Punishment is different because it aims to reduce behavior rather than increase it. Negative reinforcement does not fit because it removes an unpleasant condition rather than adding a reward. Question 3. If Ivy must answer quickly, which idea is signaled when learners complete homework early to avoid a weekly reminder call home? Option A. Negative reinforcement. Option B. Classical conditioning. Option C. Response cost. Option D. Positive reinforcement. The correct answer is option A. Negative reinforcement. This describes negative reinforcement because a behavior increases because it helps the learner avoid or remove something unpleasant. Classical conditioning is not the best choice because it involves stimulus association rather than consequences shaping behavior. Response cost is different because it removes a privilege after misbehavior. Positive reinforcement does not fit because it adds a pleasant consequence rather than removing an unpleasant one. Question 4. Rather than guessing, Ivy should connect a learner receives an extra cleanup task after throwing paper and the behavior decreases with which concept? Option A. Shaping. Option B. Negative reinforcement. Option C. Positive reinforcement. Option D. Positive punishment. The correct answer is option D. Positive punishment. This describes positive punishment because an unpleasant consequence is added to reduce an unwanted behavior. Shaping is not the best choice because it builds behavior through small reinforced steps. Negative reinforcement is different because it increases behavior by removing something unpleasant. Positive reinforcement does not fit because it adds something desirable to increase behavior. Question 5. Curiosity rises when Ivy reads that a teacher rewards each closer attempt as a shy learner gradually speaks louder in class. Which term solves the puzzle? Option A. Extinction. Option B. Fixed ratio schedule. Option C. Shaping. Option D. Reciprocal teaching. The correct answer is option C. Shaping. This describes shaping because successive approximations are reinforced until the desired behavior develops. Extinction is not the best choice because it reduces behavior by removing reinforcement. Fixed ratio schedule is different because it reinforces after a set number of responses, not gradual progress. Reciprocal teaching does not fit because it uses student-led reading strategies rather than behavior building. Question 6. A CLEP-style scenario says a teacher stops laughing at off-task jokes and the jokes slowly fade away. Which answer best captures it for Ivy? Option A. Punishment. Option B. Spaced practice. Option C. Extinction. Option D. Modeling. The correct answer is option C. Extinction. This describes extinction because a previously reinforced behavior decreases when reinforcement is no longer provided. Punishment is not the best choice because it adds or removes a consequence to reduce behavior more directly. Spaced practice is different because it improves memory through distributed study sessions. Modeling does not fit because it involves learning by watching others. Question 7. Inside a quick quiz review, Ivy studies why a learner keeps answering review questions because bonus points appear after unpredictable numbers of correct responses. Which concept fits? Option A. Variable ratio schedule. Option B. Fixed interval schedule. Option C. Variable interval schedule. Option D. Fixed ratio schedule. The correct answer is option A. Variable ratio schedule. This describes variable ratio schedule because reinforcement occurs after an unpredictable number of responses, which often produces steady responding. Fixed interval schedule is not the best choice because it rewards the first response after a set amount of time. Variable interval schedule is different because it rewards after changing time intervals rather than response counts. Fixed ratio schedule does not fit because it rewards after a predictable number of responses. Question 8. Looking at the clue that learners work hardest right before a quiz that happens every Friday, which idea should Ivy remember? Option A, fixed interval schedule. Option B, variable ratio schedule. Option C, fixed ratio schedule. Option D, token economy. The correct answer is option A, fixed interval schedule. This describes fixed interval schedule because reinforcement is available after a predictable amount of time has passed. Variable ratio schedule is not the best choice because it depends on unpredictable response counts. Fixed ratio schedule is different because it depends on a set number of responses. Token economy does not fit because it uses symbolic rewards exchanged for privileges. Question 9. Ivy sees that a child copies a classmate's polite hand raising after seeing the classmate praised during a final review session. Which concept best explains it? Option A, classical conditioning. Option B, observational learning. Option C, trial and error learning. Option D, insight learning. The correct answer is option B, observational learning. This describes observational learning because the learner changes behavior after watching another person and the consequences that follow. Classical conditioning is not the best choice because it links stimuli rather than modeling behavior. Trial and error learning is different because it depends on personal attempts and feedback rather than watching a model. Insight learning does not fit because it involves a sudden solution, not imitation. Question 10. When Ivy notices that a learner with strong belief in personal ability chooses harder practice problems in a learning lab, which idea is being tested? Option A, self-efficacy. Option B, intrinsic motivation. Option C, external locus of control. Option D, self-concept. The correct answer is option A, self-efficacy. This describes self-efficacy because the learner's belief in their capability affects effort, persistence, and challenge choice. Intrinsic motivation is not the best choice because it refers to interest or enjoyment, not belief in ability. External locus of control is different because it attributes outcomes to outside forces rather than personal capability. Self-concept does not fit because it is a broader view of oneself, not task-specific competence. Question 11. During an after-school class, Ivy studies a case where a learner's competence, classroom behavior, and teacher response all influence one another. Which term fits best? Option A, reciprocal determinism. Option B, classical conditioning. Option C, maturation. Option D, norm reference testing. The correct answer is option A, reciprocal determinism. This describes reciprocal determinism because personal factors, behavior, and environment interact in a two-way pattern. Classical conditioning is not the best choice because it focuses on learned stimulus associations. Maturation is different because it emphasizes biological growth rather than social interaction cycles. Norm reference testing does not fit because it compares scores to other test takers. Question 12. In a student coaching session, Ivy asks why a teacher gives sentence starters at first and slowly removes them as learners improve. Which answer names the idea? Option A, summative assessment. Option B, extinction. Option C, scaffolding. Option D, standardization. The correct answer is option C, scaffolding. This describes scaffolding because temporary support is provided and then withdrawn as learners become more independent. Summative assessment is not the best choice because it evaluates learning after instruction is complete. Extinction is different because it removes reinforcement to reduce behavior. Standardization does not fit because it keeps testing procedures the same for everyone. Question 13. After reading that a learner can solve a problem with hints but not yet alone, how should Ivy label the concept? Option A, mastery learning. Option B, formal operational stage. Option C, reliability. Option D, zone of proximal development. The correct answer is option D, zone of proximal development. This describes zone of proximal development because the task sits between independent ability and what the learner can do with support. Mastery learning is not the best choice because it requires reaching a performance standard before moving on. Formal operational stage is different because it describes abstract reasoning, not support level. Reliability does not fit because it concerns score consistency, not learning support. Question 14. For a short exam review, Ivy connects a child calls a zebra a horse because it fits an existing animal category with which principle? Option A, conservation. Option B, encoding. Option C, accommodation. Option D, assimilation. The correct answer is option D, assimilation. This describes assimilation because new information is interpreted using an existing mental schema. Conservation is not the best choice because it is understanding that quantity can stay the same despite appearance changes. Encoding is different because it is getting information into memory. Accommodation does not fit because it changes the schema to fit new information. Question 15. Could a case where a child changes the animal category after learning zebras are not horses be an example of which concept for Ivy? Option A, rehearsal. Option B, accommodation. Option C, class inclusion. Option D, assimilation. The correct answer is option B, accommodation. This describes accommodation because an existing schema is revised when new information does not fit. Rehearsal is not the best choice because it is repeating information to maintain it in memory. Class inclusion is different because it involves understanding category relationships. Assimilation does not fit because it would force new information into an old schema. Question 16. Why would Ivy link a child solves conservation tasks but struggles with purely hypothetical logic to one major educational psychology idea? Option A, formal operational thinking. Option B, concrete operational thinking. Option C, sensoromotor thinking. Option D, pre-operational thinking. The correct answer is option B, concrete operational thinking. This describes concrete operational thinking because children can reason logically about concrete objects but not fully abstract possibilities. Formal operational thinking is not the best choice because it includes abstract and hypothetical reasoning. Sensoromotor thinking is different because it centers on infant sensory and motor exploration. Pre-operational thinking does not fit because it often lacks conservation and logical reversibility. Question 17. A practice item tells Ivy that a teen reasons through a hypothetical justice problem without needing physical examples. Which concept is most likely? Option A, object permanence. Option B, concrete operational thinking. Option C, pre-operational thinking. Option D, formal operational thinking. The correct answer is option D, formal operational thinking. This describes formal operational thinking because abstract and hypothetical reasoning are key features of the stage. Object permanence is not the best choice because it is an infant understanding that objects still exist when unseen. Concrete operational thinking is different because it works best with tangible examples. Pre-operational thinking does not fit because it is marked by symbolic thought but limited logic. Question 18. Before answering, Ivy identifies that an infant searches for a hidden toy instead of acting as if it disappeared. Which term should be chosen? Option A, egocentrism. Option B, centration. Option C, conservation. Option D, object permanence. The correct answer is option D, object permanence. This describes object permanence because the child understands that objects continue to exist even when out of sight. Egocentrism is not the best choice because it involves difficulty taking another person's viewpoint. Centration is different because it means focusing on one feature while ignoring others. Conservation does not fit because it involves understanding quantity despite appearance changes. Question 19. Which choice helps Ivy explain why an elementary student gains pride from mastering reading and classroom skills in a practice test workshop? Option A, identity versus role confusion. Option B, generativity versus stagnation. Option C, trust versus mistrust. Option D, industry versus inferiority. The correct answer is option D, industry versus inferiority. This describes industry versus inferiority because school-age children build competence through successful work and feedback. Identity versus role confusion is not the best choice because it is mainly an adolescent search for personal identity. Generativity versus stagnation is different because it focuses on adult contribution to others. Trust versus mistrust does not fit because it centers on infant caregiver reliability. Question 20. How can Ivy classify a classroom moment where a teenager explores values, careers, and beliefs to answer who they are? Option A, identity versus role confusion. Option B, autonomy versus shame. Option C, industry versus inferiority. Option D, intimacy versus isolation. The correct answer is option A, identity versus role confusion. This describes identity versus role confusion because adolescents work toward a stable sense of self and direction. Autonomy versus shame is not the best choice because it describes toddlers building independence. Industry versus inferiority is different because it focuses on school-age competence. Intimacy versus isolation does not fit because it usually involves young adult relationships. Question 21. Suppose Ivy observes that a learner says cheating is wrong because rules and community expectations matter. Which concept is shown? Option A, conventional morality. Option B, post-conventional morality. Option C, moral realism. Option D, pre-conventional morality. The correct answer is option A, conventional morality. This describes conventional morality because moral reasoning is based on social approval, rules, and maintaining order. Post-conventional morality is not the best choice because it uses broad ethical principles beyond rules. Moral realism is different because it treats rules as fixed and unchangeable. Pre-conventional morality does not fit because it focuses on rewards and punishments. Question 22. While reviewing, Ivy sees a child avoids lying mainly to escape punishment or earn a reward. Which idea matches the situation? Option A, pre-conventional morality. Option B, identity achievement. Option C, post-conventional morality. Option D, conventional morality. The correct answer is option A, pre-conventional morality. This describes pre-conventional morality because moral decisions are driven by personal consequences such as punishment or reward. Identity achievement is not the best choice because it describes commitment after exploration, not moral reasoning. Post-conventional morality is different because it reasons from abstract principles and rights. Conventional morality does not fit because it emphasizes rules and approval from society. Question 23. One interesting clue says a learner argues that a rule should be challenged when it violates basic human rights. Which educational psychology term fits for Ivy? Option A, pre-conventional morality. Option B, post-conventional morality. Option C, learned helplessness. Option D, conventional morality. The correct answer is option B, post-conventional morality. This describes post-conventional morality because moral reasoning is guided by universal principles rather than simple rule following. Pre-conventional morality is not the best choice because it focuses on personal gain or punishment. Learned helplessness is different because it concerns giving up after repeated failure. Conventional morality does not fit because it generally supports rules and social order. Question 24. From this example, where a teacher plans choices that include music, movement, language, and spatial design, which answer should Ivy select? Option A, norm reference testing. Option B, G-factor. Option C, working memory. Option D, multiple intelligences. The correct answer is option D, multiple intelligences. This describes multiple intelligences because the approach treats ability as varied across different domains of strength. Norm reference testing is not the best choice because it compares learners to a group. G-factor is different because it emphasizes a general intelligence factor. Working memory does not fit because it is a limited mental workspace. Question 25. Students in a learning lab discuss why an assignment asks learners to solve problems, create products, and apply ideas in daily life. Which concept gives the best explanation? Option A, fluid intelligence. Option B, criterion reference testing. Option C, triarchic intelligence. Option D, multiple intelligences. The correct answer is option C, triarchic intelligence. This describes triarchic intelligence because Sternberg's model highlights analytical, creative, and practical intelligence. Fluid intelligence is not the best choice because it refers to novel problem-solving ability. Criterion referenced testing is different because it measures performance against standards. Multiple intelligences does not fit because it lists broader domains such as musical or bodily kinesthetic abilities. Question 26. Teachers in an after-school class wonder why a learner studies child development because the topic feels genuinely fascinating. Which principle applies? Option A, performance goal. Option B, intrinsic motivation. Option C, extrinsic motivation. Option D, negative reinforcement. The correct answer is option B, intrinsic motivation. This describes intrinsic motivation because the behavior is driven by interest, curiosity, or enjoyment of the activity itself. Performance goal is not the best choice because it focuses on looking competent compared with others. Extrinsic motivation is different because it depends on outside rewards or pressures. Negative reinforcement does not fit because it increases behavior by removing something unpleasant. Question 27. Can Ivy treat a learner completes extra practice mainly to earn a gift card as evidence of which concept? Option A, intrinsic motivation. Option B, mastery goal. Option C, extrinsic motivation. Option D, self-regulation. The correct answer is option C, extrinsic motivation. This describes extrinsic motivation because the behavior is driven by an outside reward rather than the activity itself. Intrinsic motivation is not the best choice because it comes from interest or enjoyment. Mastery goal is different because it emphasizes learning and improvement. Self-regulation does not fit because it involves planning and monitoring one's learning. Question 28. If Ivy must answer quickly, which idea is signaled when a learner chooses difficult questions to improve understanding even if mistakes happen? Option A, fixed mindset. Option B, avoidance goal. Option C, mastery goal. Option D, performance goal. The correct answer is option C, mastery goal. This describes mastery goal because the focus is on growth, learning, and skill development. Fixed mindset is not the best choice because it treats ability as unchangeable. Avoidance goal is different because it focuses on avoiding failure or embarrassment. Performance goal does not fit because it focuses on proving ability or outperforming others. Question 29. Rather than guessing, Ivy should connect a learner studies mainly to score higher than classmates and appear smart with which concept? Option A, intrinsic motivation. Option B, metacognition. Option C, mastery goal. Option D, performance goal. The correct answer is option D, performance goal. This describes performance goal because the learner is focused on demonstrating ability relative to others. Intrinsic motivation is not the best choice because it centers on enjoyment or curiosity. Metacognition is different because it involves awareness and control of thinking. Mastery goal does not fit because it centers on improvement and understanding. Question 30. Curiosity rises when Ivy reads that a learner explains a failed test by blaming effort, task difficulty, luck, or ability. Which term solves the puzzle? Option A, attribution theory. Option B, constructivism. Option C, information processing theory. Option D, classroom ecology. The correct answer is option A, attribution theory. This describes attribution theory because it examines how people explain causes of success and failure. Constructivism is not the best choice because it emphasizes building meaning from experience. Information processing theory is different because it explains how information moves through memory systems. Classroom ecology does not fit because it focuses on classroom environment patterns. Question 31. A CLEP-style scenario says a learner stops trying because repeated failures made success feel impossible. Which answer best captures it for Ivy? Option A, learned helplessness. Option B, positive transfer. Option C, growth mindset. Option D, self-efficacy. The correct answer is option A, learned helplessness. This describes learned helplessness because repeated uncontrollable failure can reduce motivation and effort. Positive transfer is not the best choice because it happens when prior learning helps new learning. Growth mindset is different because it supports belief that ability can improve. Self-efficacy does not fit because it refers to belief in capability, not resignation. Question 32. Inside an online prep session, Ivy studies why a learner treats mistakes as evidence that a skill can improve with strategy and effort. Which concept fits? Option A, growth mindset. Option B, entity theory. Option C, external attribution. Option D, fixed mindset. The correct answer is option A, growth mindset. This describes growth mindset because ability is viewed as developable through effort, feedback, and better strategies. Entity theory is not the best choice because it is another way to describe fixed views of ability. External attribution is different because it places causes outside the learner. Fixed mindset does not fit because it treats ability as stable and hard to change. Question 33. Looking at the clue that a hungry, unsafe student struggles to focus on a challenging lesson, which idea should Ivy remember? Option A, Kohlberg theory. Option B, classical conditioning. Option C, Bloom taxonomy. Option D, Maslow hierarchy of needs. The correct answer is option D, Maslow hierarchy of needs. This describes Maslow hierarchy of needs because basic physiological and safety needs can affect readiness for higher level learning. Kohlberg theory is not the best choice because it describes moral reasoning development. Classical conditioning is different because it explains learned stimulus response associations. Bloom taxonomy does not fit because it classifies cognitive learning objectives. Question 34. Ivy sees that a learner loses track while solving a long mental math problem with many steps during a practice test workshop. Which concept best explains it? Option A, working memory. Option B, long-term memory. Option C, procedural memory. Option D, sensory memory. The correct answer is option A, working memory. This describes working memory because working memory is the limited mental space used to hold and process information temporarily. Long-term memory is not the best choice because it stores information over extended periods. Procedural memory is different because it stores skills and habits. Sensory memory does not fit because it briefly holds raw sensory input. Question 35. When Ivy notices that a learner recalls a teaching theory studied weeks earlier in a tutoring table, which idea is being tested? Option A, long-term memory. Option B, working memory. Option C, sensory memory. Option D, selective attention. The correct answer is option A, long-term memory. This describes long-term memory because information retained over time is stored in long-term memory. Working memory is not the best choice because it is temporary and limited during active thinking. Sensory memory is different because it lasts only briefly after stimulation. Selective attention does not fit because it filters what receives mental focus. Question 36. During a classroom discussion, Ivy studies a case where a learner turns a new vocabulary term into a meaningful example to remember it. Which term fits best? Option A, retrieval. Option B, validity. Option C, extinction. Option D, encoding. The correct answer is option D, encoding. This describes encoding because encoding is the process of getting information into memory in a usable form. Retrieval is not the best choice because it involves pulling stored information back out. Validity is different because it concerns whether a test measures what it should. Extinction does not fit because it weakens a learned behavior. Question 37. In a quick quiz review, Ivy asks why a learner closes the book and answers questions from memory to strengthen recall. Which answer names the idea? Option A, centration. Option B, massed practice. Option C, summative assessment. Option D, retrieval practice. The correct answer is option D, retrieval practice. This describes retrieval practice because actively recalling information improves later memory more than simply rereading. Centration is not the best choice because it means focusing on one feature of a situation. Massed practice is different because it compresses study into one long session. Summative assessment does not fit because it evaluates learning at the end of instruction. Question 38. After reading that a learner studies the same concepts in short sessions across several days, how should Ivy label the concept? Option A, massed practice. Option B, shaping. Option C, norming. Option D, spaced practice. The correct answer is option D, spaced practice. This describes spaced practice because learning is distributed over time, which usually supports stronger retention. Massed practice is not the best choice because it packs study into one concentrated period. Shaping is different because it reinforces gradual behavior changes. Norming does not fit because it creates comparison data for a test. Question 39. For a short exam review, Ivy connects a learner links a new theory to personal classroom experiences with which principle? Option A, rote rehearsal. Option B, reliability. Option C, elaboration. Option D, extinction. The correct answer is option C, elaboration. This describes elaboration because new information is made more meaningful by connecting it to existing knowledge. Rote rehearsal is not the best choice because it repeats information without adding meaning. Reliability is different because it refers to consistency of measurement. Extinction does not fit because it removes reinforcement to reduce behavior. Question 40. Could a case where a learner groups a long list of theorists into behaviorist, cognitive, and social categories be an example of which concept for Ivy? Option A, chunking. Option B, overlearning. Option C, accommodation. Option D, response cost. The correct answer is option A, chunking. This describes chunking because information is organized into meaningful units to reduce memory load. Overlearning is not the best choice because it continues practice after initial mastery. Accommodation is different because it changes a schema to fit new information. Response cost does not fit because it removes a privilege to reduce behavior. Question 41. Why would Ivy link a learner checks which topics are weak and adjusts the study plan to one major educational psychology idea? Option A, metacognition. Option B, automaticity. Option C, classical conditioning. Option D, extrinsic motivation. The correct answer is option A, metacognition. This describes metacognition because the learner monitors and controls their own thinking and learning strategies. Automaticity is not the best choice because it means a skill requires little conscious effort. Classical conditioning is different because it involves learned associations. Extrinsic motivation does not fit because it depends on external rewards. Question 42. A practice item tells Ivy that knowledge from a statistics lesson helps a learner understand test reliability. Which concept is most likely? Option A, negative punishment. Option B, extinction. Option C, transfer of learning. Option D, cognitive dissonance. The correct answer is option C, transfer of learning. This describes transfer of learning because previous learning influences performance in a new but related situation. Negative punishment is not the best choice because it removes something desirable to reduce behavior. Extinction is different because it reduces behavior when reinforcement stops. Cognitive dissonance does not fit because it involves discomfort from conflicting beliefs. Question 43. Before answering, Ivy identifies that a teacher gives a big picture concept map before a complex lesson begins. Which term should be chosen? Option A, token economy. Option B, random assignment. Option C, advance organizer. Option D, exit ticket. The correct answer is option C, advance organizer. This describes advance organizer because a preview structure helps learners connect new information to prior knowledge. Token economy is not the best choice because it uses symbolic rewards. Random assignment is different because it places participants into groups by chance. Exit ticket does not fit because it checks understanding at the end of a lesson. Question 44. Which choice helps Ivy explain why a learner uses an existing mental framework about classrooms to understand a new teaching method in a peer study circle? Option A, percentile rank. Option B, rubric. Option C, schema. Option D, reinforcer. The correct answer is option C, schema. This describes schema because a schema is an organized knowledge structure used to interpret information. Percentile rank is not the best choice because it shows relative standing in a group. Rubric is different because it is a scoring guide. Reinforcer does not fit because it is a consequence that increases behavior. Question 45. How can Ivy classify a classroom moment where too many visuals, terms, and steps overwhelm a learner during a first lesson? Option A, cognitive load. Option B, intrinsic motivation. Option C, egocentrism. Option D, reliability. The correct answer is option A, cognitive load. This describes cognitive load because working memory can become overloaded when too much information must be processed at once. Intrinsic motivation is not the best choice because it concerns interest and enjoyment. Egocentrism is different because it means difficulty taking another viewpoint. Reliability does not fit because it concerns consistency of scores. Question 46. Suppose Ivy observes that learners build their own understanding through discussion, examples, and problem solving. Which concept is shown? Option A, behaviorism. Option B, standardization. Option C, maturation. Option D, constructivism. The correct answer is option D, constructivism. This describes constructivism because learners actively construct meaning rather than simply receive information. Behaviorism is not the best choice because it emphasizes observable behavior and consequences. Standardization is different because it keeps procedures uniform. Maturation does not fit because it emphasizes biological growth. Question 47. While reviewing, Ivy sees learners investigate a question, gather evidence, and develop an explanation. Which idea matches the situation? Option A, norm-referenced assessment. Option B, fixed ratio reinforcement. Option C, direct instruction. Option D, inquiry-based learning. The correct answer is option D, inquiry-based learning. This describes inquiry-based learning because learning begins with questions and exploration rather than only direct telling. Norm-referenced assessment is not the best choice because it compares students to one another. Fixed ratio reinforcement is different because it rewards after a set number of responses. Direct instruction does not fit because it uses clear teacher-led explanation and guided practice. Question 48. One interesting clue says a teacher models a skill, guides practice, checks understanding, and gives feedback. Which educational psychology term fits for Ivy? Option A, discovery learning. Option B, peer tutoring. Option C, portfolio assessment. Option D, direct instruction. The correct answer is option D, direct instruction. This describes direct instruction because the method uses explicit teaching steps and structured practice. Discovery learning is not the best choice because it expects students to uncover ideas with less direct guidance. Peer tutoring is different because it uses students helping students. Portfolio assessment does not fit because it collects work over time. Question 49. From this example, where learners work in small groups with shared goals and individual accountability, which answer should Ivy select? Option A, cooperative learning. Option B, independent study. Option C, competitive learning. Option D, lecture method. The correct answer is option A, cooperative learning. This describes cooperative learning because learners collaborate while each member remains responsible for contributing. Independent study is not the best choice because it relies on solo learning. Competitive learning is different because it ranks students against one another. Lecture method does not fit because it centers on teacher presentation. Question 50. Students in a tutoring table discuss why a teacher adjusts tasks, materials, and support based on learner readiness. Which concept gives the best explanation? Option A, random sampling. Option B, differentiated instruction. Option C, summative assessment. Option D, standardized instruction. The correct answer is option B, differentiated instruction. This describes differentiated instruction because instruction is adapted to different needs while keeping meaningful learning goals. Random sampling is not the best choice because it selects participants for research. Summative assessment is different because it evaluates after instruction. Standardized instruction does not fit because it delivers the same approach to all students. Question 51. Teachers in a classroom discussion wonder why a lesson offers text, audio, visuals, and different ways to show understanding from the start. Which principle applies? Option A, accommodation only. Option B, universal design for learning. Option C, mastery grading. Option D, tracking. The correct answer is option B, universal design for learning. This describes universal design for learning because UDL plans flexible access and expression options before barriers appear. Accommodation only is not the best choice because it changes access for an individual after a need is identified. Mastery grading is different because it focuses on reaching standards before moving ahead. Tracking does not fit because it separates students into groups by perceived ability. Question 52. Can Ivy treat a teacher uses a quick exit question to adjust tomorrow's lesson as evidence of which concept? Option A, formative assessment. Option B, summative assessment. Option C, placement test. Option D, norm-referenced assessment. The correct answer is option A, formative assessment. This describes formative assessment because the assessment is used during learning to guide instruction and feedback. Summative assessment is not the best choice because it judges learning after instruction is complete. Placement test is different because it sorts students before instruction begins. Norm-referenced assessment does not fit because it compares performance to other learners. Question 53. If Ivy must answer quickly, which idea is signaled when a final exam measures what learners learned after the unit ends? Option A, diagnostic assessment. Option B, summative assessment. Option C, anecdotal record. Option D, formative assessment. The correct answer is option B, summative assessment. This describes summative assessment because the assessment evaluates achievement at the end of a learning period. Diagnostic assessment is not the best choice because it identifies starting strengths and needs. Anecdotal record is different because it is a brief observational note. Formative assessment does not fit because it guides instruction during learning. Question 54. Rather than guessing, Ivy should connect a learner's score is judged against a fixed standard of mastery with which concept? Option A, ipsative assessment. Option B, informal observation. Option C, criterion-referenced assessment. Option D, norm-referenced assessment. The correct answer is option C, criterion-referenced assessment. This describes criterion-referenced assessment because performance is compared with defined criteria rather than other students. Ipsative assessment is not the best choice because it compares a student to their own past performance. Informal observation is different because it is not necessarily tied to a fixed standard. Norm-referenced assessment does not fit because it compares students to a reference group. Question 55. Curiosity rises when Ivy reads that a score report shows how a learner performed compared with a national sample. Which term solves the puzzle? Option A, authentic assessment. Option B, norm-referenced assessment. Option C, formative assessment. Option D, criterion-referenced assessment. The correct answer is option B, norm-referenced assessment. This describes norm-referenced assessment because the score is interpreted relative to other test takers. Authentic assessment is not the best choice because it uses real-world tasks. Formative assessment is different because it is used during learning for improvement. Criterion-referenced assessment does not fit because it compares performance to a standard. Question 56. A CLEP-style scenario says a test gives similar results when the same skill is measured repeatedly. Which answer best captures it for Ivy? Option A, bias. Option B, reliability. Option C, validity. Option D, percentile rank. The correct answer is option B, reliability. This describes reliability because reliability means scores are consistent across time, items, or raters. Bias is not the best choice because it concerns unfair advantage or disadvantage. Validity is different because it asks whether the test measures the intended construct. Percentile rank does not fit because it reports relative standing. Question 57. Inside a student coaching session, Ivy studies why a math test actually measures math reasoning instead of reading speed. Which concept fits? Option A, standard error. Option B, validity. Option C, inter-rater agreement. Option D, reliability. The correct answer is option B, validity. This describes validity because validity concerns whether an assessment measures what it claims to measure. Standard error is not the best choice because it estimates score uncertainty. Inter-rater agreement is different because it is one form of consistency between scorers. Reliability does not fit because it concerns consistency, not meaning. Question 58. Looking at the clue that all examines receive the same directions, timing, and scoring rules, which idea should Ivy remember? Option A, authentic assessment. Option B, standardized test. Option C, portfolio assessment. Option D, informal assessment. The correct answer is option B, standardized test. This describes standardized test because standardization keeps testing conditions uniform so scores can be interpreted fairly. Authentic assessment is not the best choice because it asks students to perform realistic tasks. Portfolio assessment is different because it collects multiple pieces of work over time. Informal assessment does not fit because it may be flexible and teacher-made. Question 59. Ivy sees that learners design a real classroom plan instead of only selecting answers on a test during a peer study circle. Which concept best explains it? Option A, authentic assessment. Option B, standardized assessment. Option C, norm-referenced assessment. Option D, forced choice test. The correct answer is option A, authentic assessment. This describes authentic assessment because students demonstrate learning through realistic tasks and products. Standardized assessment is not the best choice because it uses uniform procedures and scoring. Norm-referenced assessment is different because it compares performance to a group. Forced choice test does not fit because it limits responses to provided options. Question 60. When Ivy notices that learners receive a scoring guide describing levels for evidence, clarity, and accuracy in a Bright Review class, which idea is being tested? Option A, checklist. Option B, norm table. Option C, rubric. Option D, syllabus. The correct answer is option C, rubric. This describes rubric because a rubric lists criteria and performance levels for judging work. Checklist is not the best choice because it often marks whether elements are present without quality levels. Norm table is different because it helps interpret scores against a sample. Syllabus does not fit because it outlines course policies and topics. Question 61. During a quiet study group, Ivy studies a case where a teacher moves learners from remembering facts to evaluating arguments and creating projects. Which term fits best? Option A, Bloom taxonomy. Option B, Maslow hierarchy. Option C, Erikson stages. Option D, Kohlberg stages. The correct answer is option A, Bloom taxonomy. This describes Bloom taxonomy because the taxonomy organizes cognitive tasks from lower to higher levels of thinking. Maslow hierarchy is not the best choice because it organizes human needs. Erikson stages is different because it describes psychosocial development. Kohlberg stages does not fit because it describes moral reasoning. Question 62. In an online prep session, Ivy asks why a learner with a qualifying disability has a legal plan with goals and services. Which answer names the idea? Option A, lesson plan. Option B, rubric. Option C, Individualized Education Program. Option D, norming report. The correct answer is option C, Individualized Education Program. This describes Individualized Education Program because an IEP documents specialized instruction, supports, goals, and services for eligible students. Lesson plan is not the best choice because it guides a teacher's daily instruction, but is not a special education legal document. Rubric is different because it scores performance. Norming report does not fit because it summarizes comparison data. Question 63. After reading that a learner with a disability learns with non-disabled peers as much as appropriate, how should Ivy label the concept? Option A, retention. Option B, standardization. Option C, least restrictive environment. Option D, tracking. The correct answer is option C, least restrictive environment. This describes least restrictive environment because students should be educated in settings that provide access while avoiding unnecessary separation. Retention is not the best choice because it keeps a student in the same grade. Standardization is different because it keeps testing procedures uniform. Tracking does not fit because it groups students by perceived ability. Question 64. For a short exam review, Ivy connects a learner gets extended time while the learning target stays the same with which principle? Option A, accommodation. Option B, punishment. Option C, acceleration. Option D, modification. The correct answer is option A, accommodation. This describes accommodation because access is adjusted without changing the essential learning expectation. Punishment is not the best choice because it reduces unwanted behavior through consequences. Acceleration is different because it moves a learner ahead faster. Modification does not fit because it changes the learning expectation or task level. Question 65. Could a case where a learner completes a simplified assignment with different learning expectations be an example of which concept for Ivy? Option A, scaffolding. Option B, accommodation. Option C, modification. Option D, universal screening. The correct answer is option C, modification. This describes modification because the task or standard is changed to fit the learner's instructional level. Scaffolding is not the best choice because it gives temporary support toward the same goal. Accommodation is different because it changes access while keeping the same standard. Universal screening does not fit because it checks all learners for risk. Question 66. Why would Ivy link a strong thinker struggles with accurate word decoding and benefits from structured phonics to one major educational psychology idea? Option A, percentile rank. Option B, dyslexia support. Option C, dyscalculia support. Option D, behavior contract. The correct answer is option B, dyslexia support. This describes dyslexia support because dyslexia commonly affects word reading and decoding, so explicit structured literacy support can help. Percentile rank is not the best choice because it reports relative test standing. Dyscalculia support is different because it focuses on math-related difficulties. Behavior contract does not fit because it targets behavior goals. Question 67. A practice item tells Ivy that a learner focuses better with short tasks, movement breaks, and clear routines. Which concept is most likely? Option A, ADHD classroom support. Option B, classical conditioning. Option C, criterion testing. Option D, gifted compacting. The correct answer is option A, ADHD classroom support. This describes ADHD classroom support because structured routines and attention supports can reduce distractions and support self-management. Classical conditioning is not the best choice because it links stimuli with responses. Criterion testing is different because it compares performance to standards. Gifted compacting does not fit because it removes already mastered work for advanced learners. Question 68. Before answering, Ivy identifies that an advanced learner skips mastered work and uses time for deeper enrichment. Which term should be chosen? Option A, retention. Option B, curriculum compacting. Option C, remediation. Option D, extinction. The correct answer is option B, curriculum compacting. This describes curriculum compacting because already mastered content is reduced so the learner can pursue more challenging work. Retention is not the best choice because it repeats a grade or course. Remediation is different because it remediates skills that are not yet mastered. Extinction does not fit because it removes reinforcement to reduce a behavior. Question 69. Which choice helps Ivy explain why examples, discussion norms, and materials connect learning to learners' cultural backgrounds in a final review session? Option A, colorblind teaching. Option B, culturally responsive teaching. Option C, ability tracking. Option D, standardized testing. The correct answer is option B, culturally responsive teaching. This describes culturally responsive teaching because instruction uses students' cultural knowledge and experiences as assets for learning. Colorblind teaching is not the best choice because it ignores cultural differences rather than using them constructively. Ability tracking is different because it separates students by perceived ability. Standardized testing does not fit because it keeps procedures uniform. Question 70. How can Ivy classify a classroom moment where an assessment unfairly disadvantages a group because examples depend on unfamiliar cultural knowledge? Option A, standard deviation. Option B, validity evidence. Option C, test bias. Option D, reliability. The correct answer is option C, test bias. This describes test bias because bias occurs when irrelevant factors give some groups an unfair advantage or disadvantage. Standard deviation is not the best choice because it describes score spread. Validity evidence is different because it supports appropriate score interpretation. Reliability does not fit because it concerns score consistency. Question 71. Suppose Ivy observes that learners transition quickly because procedures for materials and movement are practiced daily. Which concept is shown? Option A, accommodation. Option B, random reinforcement. Option C, classroom routines. Option D, summative testing. The correct answer is option C, classroom routines. This describes classroom routines because clear repeated procedures reduce confusion and support orderly learning time. Accommodation is not the best choice because it adjusts access for a learner. Random reinforcement is different because it gives rewards unpredictably. Summative testing does not fit because it evaluates final achievement. Question 72. While reviewing, IVC's learners earn points for target behaviors and trade them for privileges. Which idea matches the situation? Option A, mastery learning. Option B, logical consequence. Option C, token economy. Option D, classical conditioning. The correct answer is option C, token economy. This describes token economy because tokens serve as conditioned reinforcers that can be exchanged for backup rewards. Mastery learning is not the best choice because it requires meeting standards before moving forward. Logical consequence is different because it is connected naturally to misbehavior. Classical conditioning does not fit because it links two stimuli rather than using exchangeable rewards. Question 73. One interesting clue says a learner who misuses lab materials must repair the setup and review safety steps. Which educational psychology term fits for Ivy? Option A, extinction. Option B, unrelated punishment. Option C, logical consequence. Option D, negative reinforcement. The correct answer is option C, logical consequence. This describes logical consequence because the consequence is related to the behavior and helps restore responsible action. Extinction is not the best choice because it withholds reinforcement to reduce behavior. Unrelated punishment is different because it does not connect meaningfully to the behavior. Negative reinforcement does not fit because it increases behavior by removing an unpleasant condition. Question 74. From this example, where a teacher spots small off-task behavior early while continuing the lesson smoothly, which answer should Ivy select? Option A, wait time. Option B, self-efficacy. Option C, scaffolding. Option D, with fitness. The correct answer is option D, with fitness. This describes with fitness because with fitness means awareness of classroom events and quick response before problems grow. Wait time is not the best choice because it is a pause after asking a question. Self-efficacy is different because it is belief in capability. Scaffolding does not fit because it gives temporary learning support. Question 75. Students in a Bright Review class discuss why a teacher pauses several seconds after asking a question before calling on anyone. Which concept gives the best explanation? Option A, response cost. Option B, with fitness. Option C, distributed practice. Option D, wait time. The correct answer is option D, wait time. This describes wait time because wait time gives students more processing time and often improves response quality. Response cost is not the best choice because it removes a privilege after behavior. With fitness is different because it is awareness of classroom behavior. Distributed practice does not fit because it spreads study sessions over time. Question 76. Teachers in a quiet study group wonder why a prompt asks learners to explain several possible reasons instead of choosing one fact. Which principle applies? Option A, closed question. Option B, recall cue. Option C, open-ended questioning. Option D, fixed ratio schedule. The correct answer is option C, open-ended questioning. This describes open-ended questioning because open-ended questions invite elaboration, reasoning, and multiple defensible responses. Closed question is not the best choice because it usually has one brief answer. Recall cue is different because it simply prompts memory of stored information. Fixed ratio schedule does not fit because it reinforces after a set number of responses. Question 77. Can Ivy treat a teacher tells a learner exactly what worked and what to revise next as evidence of which concept? Option A, effective feedback. Option B, summative grade only. Option C, general praise. Option D, random correction. The correct answer is option A, effective feedback. This describes effective feedback because specific, timely feedback helps learners close the gap between current and desired performance. Summative grade only is not the best choice because it reports performance without next steps. General praise is different because it may feel positive but gives little guidance. Random correction does not fit because it lacks targeted connection to the learning goal. Question 78. If Ivy must answer quickly, which idea is signaled when a learner sets a goal, monitors progress, changes strategies, and reflects after studying? Option A, operant conditioning. Option B, object permanence. Option C, social facilitation. Option D, self-regulated learning. The correct answer is option D, self-regulated learning. This describes self-regulated learning because learners actively plan, monitor, control, and evaluate their learning. Operant conditioning is not the best choice because it emphasizes consequences shaping behavior. Object permanence is different because it concerns infant understanding of hidden objects. Social facilitation does not fit because it concerns performance changes in the presence of others. Question 79. Rather than guessing, Ivy should connect learners take turns summarizing, questioning, clarifying, and predicting during reading with which concept? Option A, token economy. Option B, reciprocal teaching. Option C, direct instruction. Option D, random assignment. The correct answer is option B, reciprocal teaching. This describes reciprocal teaching because the strategy uses structured dialogue to improve comprehension. Token economy is not the best choice because it uses symbolic rewards. Direct instruction is different because it is mainly teacher-led explanation and practice. Random assignment does not fit because it assigns participants to groups by chance. Question 80. Curiosity rises when Ivy reads that one student guides another through practice will both receive learning benefits. Which term solves the puzzle? Option A, peer tutoring. Option B, tracking. Option C, lecture. Option D, portfolio assessment. The correct answer is option A, peer tutoring. This describes peer tutoring because students support each other's learning through structured helper-learner roles. Tracking is not the best choice because it separates students into ability groups. Lecture is different because it is teacher presentation to a group. Portfolio assessment does not fit because it collects work samples over time. Question 81. A CLEP-style scenario says a child identifies that cat and cup begin with the same spoken sound. Which answer best captures it for Ivy? Option A, morphology. Option B, phonemic awareness. Option C, syntax. Option D, phonics. The correct answer is option B, phonemic awareness. This describes phonemic awareness because the learner is attending to individual sounds in spoken language. Morphology is not the best choice because it studies meaningful word parts. Syntax is different because it concerns sentence structure. Phonics does not fit because it links sounds to printed letters. Question 82. Inside a quick quiz review, Ivy studies why a learner improves a skill after watching a confident model demonstrate each step. Which concept fits? Option A, Bandura modeling. Option B, Maslow needs. Option C, Skinner shaping. Option D, Piaget conservation. The correct answer is option A, Bandura modeling. This describes Bandura modeling because Bandura emphasized learning by observing models and the outcomes of their actions. Maslow needs is not the best choice because it explains motivation through layered needs. Skinner shaping is different because it reinforces gradual behavior changes through consequences. Piaget conservation does not fit because it concerns logical understanding of quantity. Question 83. Looking at the clue that family, school, peers, community, and culture all shape a child's development, which idea should Ivy remember? Option A, Erikson's psychosocial stages. Option B, information processing. Option C, Brenfenbrenner ecological systems. Option D, Kohlberg moral stages. The correct answer is option C, Brenfenbrenner ecological systems. This describes Brenfenbrenner ecological systems because development is influenced by nested environmental systems around the child. Erikson's psychosocial stages is not the best choice because it focuses on lifespan social-emotional conflicts. Information processing is different because it compares thinking to mental processing systems. Kohlberg moral stages does not fit because it focuses on moral reasoning. Question 84. Ivy sees that a young child uses a caregiver as a safe base and seeks comfort after stress during a final review session. Which concept best explains it? Option A, avoidant attachment. Option B, secure attachment. Option C, industry versus inferiority. Option D, authoritarian parenting. The correct answer is option B, secure attachment. This describes secure attachment because secure attachment involves trust in caregiver availability and comfort. Avoidant attachment is not the best choice because it shows reduced seeking of comfort. Industry versus inferiority is different because it is a school-age psychosocial conflict. Authoritarian parenting does not fit because it describes strict parenting style. Question 85. When Ivy notices that two infants differ early in activity level, mood, and adaptability in a learning lab, which idea is being tested? Option A, temperament. Option B, criterion validity. Option C, moral reasoning. Option D, self-concept. The correct answer is option A, temperament. This describes temperament because temperament refers to biologically influenced patterns of emotional and behavioral response. Criterion validity is not the best choice because it links test scores to an outcome. Moral reasoning is different because it concerns judgments about right and wrong. Self-concept does not fit because it is a person's view of self. Question 86. During an after-school class, Ivy studies a case where a child says "goad" because a regular grammar rule is applied too broadly. Which term fits best? Option A, language overgeneralization. Option B, babbling. Option C, telegraphic speech. Option D, code switching. The correct answer is option A, language overgeneralization. This describes language overgeneralization because the child applies a learned language rule to an irregular case. Babbling is not the best choice because it is early sound play. Telegraphic speech is different because it uses short two-word phrases. Code switching does not fit because it shifts language varieties based on context. Question 87. In a student coaching session, Ivy asks why learners explain whether a character should break a rule to help someone in need. Which answer names the idea? Option A, achievement test. Option B, behavior checklist. Option C, aptitude test. Option D, moral dilemma assessment. The correct answer is option D, moral dilemma assessment. This describes moral dilemma assessment because moral dilemmas reveal the reasoning behind judgments, not just the choice itself. Achievement test is not the best choice because it measures learned academic content. Behavior checklist is different because it records observed behaviors. Aptitude test does not fit because it predicts future learning potential. Question 88. After reading that a study finds that homework time and test scores rise together without proving cause, how should Ivy label the concept? Option A, case study. Option B, experimental research. Option C, correlational research. Option D, ethnography. The correct answer is option C, correlational research. This describes correlational research because correlation shows a relationship between variables but does not establish causation. Case study is not the best choice because it examines one person or small group deeply. Experimental research is different because it manipulates variables to test cause and effect. Ethnography does not fit because it studies culture through immersion. Question 89. For a short exam review, Ivy connects participants are placed into tutoring or no tutoring groups by chance with which principle? Option A, random assignment. Option B, convenience sampling. Option C, random sampling. Option D, matching. The correct answer is option A, random assignment. This describes random assignment because chance placement helps make groups similar before the treatment begins. Convenience sampling is not the best choice because it uses whoever is easily available. Random sampling is different because it selects participants from a population. Matching does not fit because it pairs participants on key traits. Question 90. Could a case where a researcher changes the type of feedback learners receive be an example of which concept for Ivy? Option A, confounding variable. Option B, independent variable. Option C, control variable. Option D, dependent variable. The correct answer is option B, independent variable. This describes independent variable because the independent variable is the factor the researcher manipulates. Confounding variable is not the best choice because it is an unwanted factor that may affect results. Control variable is different because it is held constant. Dependent variable does not fit because it is the measured outcome. Question 91. Why would Ivy link a researcher measures quiz scores after using two different teaching methods to one major educational psychology idea? Option A, dependent variable. Option B, random assignment. Option C, extraneous variable. Option D, independent variable. The correct answer is option A, dependent variable. This describes dependent variable because the dependent variable is the outcome measured to see whether the treatment had an effect. Random assignment is not the best choice because it is a grouping procedure. Extraneous variable is different because it is an outside influence. Independent variable does not fit because it is the factor manipulated. Question 92. A practice item tells Ivy that one group receives regular instruction while another receives a new memory strategy. Which concept is most likely? Option A, control group. Option B, population. Option C, experimental group. Option D, sample. The correct answer is option A, control group. This describes control group because the control group provides a comparison for judging the effect of the treatment. Population is not the best choice because it is the larger group of interest. Experimental group is different because it receives the treatment being tested. Sample does not fit because it is the set of participants studied. Question 93. Before answering, Ivy identifies that a teacher adds all quiz scores and divides by the number of learners. Which term should be chosen? Option A, median. Option B, mean. Option C, mode. Option D, range. The correct answer is option B, mean. This describes mean because the mean is the arithmetic average of a set of scores. Median is not the best choice because it is the middle score. Mode is different because it is the most frequent score. Range does not fit because it is the difference between highest and lowest scores. Question 94. Which choice helps Ivy explain why a teacher wants to know how spread out the class scores are around the average in a practice test workshop? Option A, raw score. Option B, standard deviation. Option C, mean. Option D, percentile rank. The correct answer is option B, standard deviation. This describes standard deviation because standard deviation describes typical distance of scores from the mean. Raw score is not the best choice because it is the number of points earned. Mean is different because it gives the average but not spread. Percentile rank does not fit because it shows relative standing. Question 95. How can Ivy classify a classroom moment where a learner's report says the score is higher than the scores of 80% of the norm group? Option A, percentage correct. Option B, percentile rank. Option C, grade equivalent. Option D, standard deviation. The correct answer is option B, percentile rank. This describes percentile rank because percentile rank tells the percentage of comparison scores at or below a student's score. Percentage correct is not the best choice because it reports items answered correctly. Grade equivalent is different because it estimates grade level performance, often imperfectly. Standard deviation does not fit because it describes score spread. Question 96. Suppose Ivy observes that learners improve partly because they know they are being studied. Which concept is shown? Option A, testing effect. Option B, observer bias. Option C, Hawthorne effect. Option D, placebo effect. The correct answer is option C, Hawthorne effect. This describes Hawthorne effect because participants may change behavior simply because they are receiving attention in a study. Testing effect is not the best choice because it improves learning through retrieval practice. Observer bias is different because it occurs when researcher expectations shape recording. Placebo effect does not fit because it involves improvement from belief in a treatment. Question 97. While reviewing, Ivy sees learners improve over a semester because they naturally grew older, not because of the program. Which idea matches the situation? Option A, regression to the mean. Option B, maturation threat. Option C, selection bias. Option D, instrumentation threat. The correct answer is option B, maturation threat. This describes maturation threat because changes due to natural development can threaten conclusions about a treatment's effect. Regression to the mean is not the best choice because it occurs when extreme scores move closer to average later. Selection bias is different because it occurs when groups differ before a treatment. Instrumentation threat does not fit because it occurs when measurement changes over time. Question 98. One interesting clue says a researcher records detailed notes about classroom interactions instead of only counting scores. Which educational psychology term fits for Ivy? Option A, standardized testing. Option B, random assignment. Option C, qualitative observation. Option D, meta-analysis. The correct answer is option C, qualitative observation. This describes qualitative observation because qualitative methods focus on rich descriptions and meanings in context. Standardized testing is not the best choice because it uses uniform measurement procedures. Random assignment is different because it places participants into groups by chance. Meta-analysis does not fit because it statistically combines many studies. Question 99. From this example, where a teacher studies the effect of a new discussion routine in the teacher's own classroom, which answer should Ivy select? Option A, action research. Option B, survey research. Option C, longitudinal research. Option D, laboratory experiment. The correct answer is option A, action research. This describes action research because practitioners investigate their own settings to improve local practice. Survey research is not the best choice because it gathers responses from questionnaires. Longitudinal research is different because it follows participants over time. Laboratory experiment does not fit because it tests variables in a controlled setting. Question 100. Students in a learning lab discuss why families are told the study purpose, risks, and rights before agreeing to participate. Which concept gives the best explanation? Option A, confidentiality. Option B, informed consent. Option C, debriefing. Option D, random assignment. The correct answer is option B, informed consent. This describes informed consent because participants or guardians must understand key information and voluntarily agree. Confidentiality is not the best choice because it protects private data. Debriefing is different because it explains details after participation. Random assignment does not fit because it assigns participants to groups by chance.